All right, all right. Now we're live. Yeah, all right. I think we're live. All right. We live. There we go. All right, sweet. All right, all right. Now we're live. All right, cool. All right. So good. Let's get right to this, man. We're trying to stay focused, like my man Jack Trout and Al Reese, Ries or Rise. I think it's Reese had written about it many moons ago about staying focused and influence. Two great books, Influence and Focus. I'm telling you, wonderful books. If you're trying to market your business, brand awareness, focus, and influence are two of the best books you can possibly find for sure. And that's what we're going to try to do here. We're going to try to do that tonight, shall we? All right. So Kim starts us off. A ton of questions to answer here, too, by the way. I'm looking over here at my other questions that have come in fast and furious lately. My website is now back. Yay. All right. So the emails are coming in. It's an avalanche of stuff, which is good. It's going to keep us occupied for many moons. And I'm going to do a video tomorrow. If I get my, why is that not working? A Right Capital video for a guy who I promised I'd do a financial planning video for. So I'll do a premiere on that. That's not working. So that'd be good. So stay tuned tomorrow. I'll do a premiere, which means I'll do the video first and I'll put it up there. So that way, if you all watch, I can comment while you guys are watching. I'm not sure why my phone's not charging. All right. So do you know if I can sign up for ACA if you're over 65 years old, but eligible for Medicare? My mom is 79 and she thinks she can drop Medicare and sign up for ACA. No. Nope, can't do that. Medicare is the law of the land, and that's what you got to do. That's for sure. So nope, sorry, Kim. Al says pure Michigan, 7 inches of snow, no worms or birds. I was listening to a guy today who said it's going to be a great spring for gardening in Texas because of all the snow and the water from the that they had ice. From they had in the freezing down there. So very interesting. We're going to get a little bit of that today, maybe too. I do want to talk about wind turbines in Minnesota. I think one of the people who are leading us down the road of the insanity of unreliable energy. Some of these guys, first of all, they don't know their butt from a hole in the ground. And secondly, they're using the Texas like they should have winterized the wind turbines. We're going to talk about Minnesota. Say, interesting. I would think Minnesota would have winterized their wind turbines too, right? So we're going to get in that too. So, all right. Al says, stocks on gold or silver. Plan on to load up some. Just don't know if I should do silver. Gold dropping looks attractive. Feel is going past 2,000. Silver history always outpaced gold on increases. I don't even care what the price is. I would get some, both for sure. Remember, I'm telling you, this whole thing with Bitcoin and stuff, it's the thing about gold, the thing about silver, the thing about Bitcoin, the thing about anything is how do you slice and dice it? You see what I'm saying? Because ultimately the point about this stuff is where you can trade. Gold has historically been I don't want to say a store of value, but it's been a currency out. Gold has historically been a currency that you could use to transact goods and services. All right, that's just a fact. The problem with gold, if you buy ounces, though, is that how do you, it used to be in the old days under the old Roman Empire, they would slice off some of the, was it gold or was it copper? I can't remember. But they'd literally slice off some of that and recreate their own. And so it wasn't pure. It's very, very interesting. If you look at the monetary history, I got a book on that someplace, but very interesting what they used to do. They shade off some of that, but you can't do that, so you're going to have to get pieces of gold that are not just trading in ounces. And I find it interesting. People say, I have all this, gold, these blocks of gold. And I'm like, well, what are you going to do? You're going to take a sledgehammer? And that doesn't make any sense. So you want to make sure you got it so it can be traded in currencies. And I've talked a bunch of times about getting tenth, quarters, and half ounces. A couple of whole ounces too, for sure, but definitely tenths, quarters, half ounces as well. Just be careful on getting the tenths. They're very, very light, man. A tenth of an ounce is very, very light. Easy to misplace for sure. So I'd load up on some silver. What an ounce of silver is trading at $25 now or something like that. 20, I don't know. But I really could care less what the price is. I mean, ultimately, I bought my first gold prices at 1,100 a few 5 years back or something like that. So now it's worth more for sure, but it literally means not. It's like your house, man. Do you really care what your house is worth? No, you don't. It's almost like a credit score. Everyone says, I got a good credit score. I said, are you going to borrow money? No. Why do you, I mean, yeah, I get it. You'll keep your eye out, but does it matter that much? I don't think so. So at the end of the day, look, if you got some liquid cash and you got some a need for gold as a way to store calamity transactions, I would highly recommend buying some up. I'm going to buy some here, man, because you can't look. I'm not going to say you can't go wrong with gold. I just historically has always had a value of some sort. Kind of like historically, a shelter always keeps a value. Historically, water. I know water is a public good and all that, but water has a value. Just look what happened in Texas. I think we just need to refocus. What actually can be used to transact business to keep the freaking ship afloat? It's not Bitcoin. It's just not. And I'm not here to bash Bitcoin, but I mean, all these people say it's not Tesla stock. At the end of the day, you need food, you need shelter. And I got a bug right up there. You need water, man. And ideally heat too. I mean, that's what matters. And so when the S hits the fan, all the Bitcoin in the world all the Tesla stock doesn't mean anything, but potentially gold could. So gold is a protection against calamity. So I would highly recommend if you have the resources to get some for sure. But just don't buy just nothing but gold ounces. I mean, that's $2,000 a transaction. Well, I'll take your freaking bushel of apples. Well, here's an ounce of gold. And that's not a very good trade, in my opinion. Yeah, right on, Ray. Big fan of Rush. Yeah, I was always a big fan of Rush. He's very important in my life, man, for sure. Let's see here. Hold on a sec. Yeah, right on. Vinyl, definitely not. Yeah, right on. 100%. Vinyl is right there for sure. Hello, Nancy. Live. Hey, folks, this is. All right. Evening. Hello. Laser focus. Greetings from Newton, Kansas. Right on, Scott. Right on. Hello. Marty from Oregon. Jimmy from Georgia. So New Jersey Medicare says you can get ACA and get off Medicare. I don't know that to be true, man. Oh, yeah. So by the way, Kim makes a good point. There's some clown going around on my channel, apparently on Jazz Wealth's channel too. I know on Grant Stevens' channel, reaching out for WhatsApp or whatever. I don't have any WhatsApp. I don't do WhatsApp. I don't do what was the other one he was doing? I forgot. But I don't do all of that stuff. And the funny thing is, some dude, I think maybe Kim, she goes, "Hey Josh, freaking Packers or Redskins?" Oh, I gotta get banned for saying Redskins. Packers or Redskins? And the guy says, "Hey, reach out to me at my WhatsApp." And that's what some dude had actually reached out to this guy, and he was some guy said, it was an interesting. He did it on, I forgot what it was. Anyway, Instagram, I think, and I don't have Instagram. But anyway, it was interesting. So the guy who was the fake guy, the Russian bot, was saying, yeah, just send it to Joe Schmo, whatever. And the guy's like, why Joe Schmo? He goes, well, that's my agent. Look, I don't have an agent, nothing like that. So just FYI, if you see comments that say Heritage Wealth Planning, WhatsApp, just hit the report thing to stupid YouTube so they can ban that guy. Look, they're going to come back again and again and again. It's not me. For the love of the good Lord, don't send money to WhatsApp. Please don't. Pipelines. Yeah. In fact, I have an article on Warren Buffett and the pipelines that I think you guys will find interesting. We'll see if we get to it today. Hello, Jill. A lot of snow in the Northeast. Yep. Silver green play as well. Kim says California. Well, it's going to be. It wasn't like that in Amarillo, Kim. That's for sure. Hey, James. All right. Kevin says, why does our government cap how much we can add to our 403B? Just a law. I mean, what they don't want to do, Kevin, is they don't want to allow discriminatory action. That doesn't mean on race or anything like that. It just means they can't have the rich people taking advantage of the tax deductions, in such a significant more so than the poor people, if that makes sense. So for simplicity, they can't say Joe Biden with his Russian contracts can put $1 million into his 403B, where freaking, old Kevin here can only put $10,000 into his 403B. So that'd be discriminatory in favor of the highly compensated Sniffy Joe and his Russian contracts, and they don't want that. So that's why. I mean, it's just government law. I mean, we can go down this. Why does the government do this or why does the government do that? Till the blue in the face. There's no right or wrong answer. Highly compensated employees, HCEs, they have to be regulated to some degree of how much more, to some extent, no more than a certain amount of how much HCEs, highly compensated employees, can put into deferred plans. I would challenge why you're trying to put a whole lot more into your 403B, though. I'm telling you right now, man, I'm not sure that's a good idea, brother. So I would challenge you to rethink that for sure. Vino says you can sometimes buy silver under melt value if you look around. Right on. Have any thoughts on all investments, some like Yield Street? I think they're mostly debt vehicle interest payments, but not sure if the return is good for its risk. I don't know the first thing about it. I don't know, man. So I'll defer that to you, but that doesn't sound like anything of interest to me, frankly. Yield investments, I don't know, but I don't know anything about it. And because I don't know anything about it, I won't buy it. That's for sure. What do you tell? Yeah, a good point, Anthony or Anthony Gloria. What do you tell people who thinks investing in the stock market is the same as gambling? This one of my pet peeves. In fact, someone commented that he did not like my video on a transaction tax, and I got no qualm with the transaction tax, none whatsoever. And he said because he's a day trader and he makes $50,000 a year day trading stocks, and if they had a transaction tax, he thinks it costs him $50,000 a year, essentially taking away his whole business. Well, I said that's the difference between investing and gambling. Or speculating. He's speculating, i.e. gambling, and I am investing. Two different things, and yet we're in the same market. And what happens is the fees of the gamblers go into the fees that the investors play. So why should we subsidize the speculators? Doesn't make sense. And if you're high frequency trading by algorithm or just your own self going in and out, you should. One of the most libertarian ideas that there is that the left kind of promotes in some regard, but they don't know what they're doing, is that you pay road fees for how much you drive. All right, that's it's a use fee. So you drive 10,000 miles a day, you pay a higher fee than someone who drives 5 miles a day. Also in auto insurance too. And now they're getting these sticks. That's going to come more and more. How much you drive, you should pay more in insurance because you are literally more at risk than someone who doesn't drive that much. It's just that simple. Like it or not, it doesn't matter. It's coming on insurance companies, and it's only going to be more efficient pricing. And they're already talking about that because, look, man, at the end of the day, we know what the cabal of corporatist globalists want. They want you to live closer to the inner city so they can freaking manage your life. The closer you are, the more they can tell you how to live. That's just a fact. They want you on the stupid rail, all right, even though it's freaking broke. None of these rails work. None of them are turning a profit. None of them ever will. Completely corrupt. We know what's going on in California. The only good thing Governor Newsom did was stop the freaking high-speed train from Fresno to San Francisco or Bakersfield. This freaking thing was stupid. Everybody knows it, but the Greens love the idea of everybody getting on rail. It's just the whole thing is the same. Anyway, so they want you in local areas. They do not want you having a car. They do not want you being on the roads, and they want you to be regulated and living in freaking 1940s, 1950s socialist architecture buildings with no sense of soul, man. You see what I'm saying? And they want you all working tech jobs, and everything is going to be automated. And as such, one of the ways they do that is say, well, if you drive more than Joe Schmo, who happens to live in the inner suburbs or inner cities itself, not the gangstervilles, but the inner cities, the city itself, we'll charge you less of a tax because you're not on the roads. Now that's going to come in a huge conflict with more and more high-speed internet access to the rural areas because a lot of people say, screw that, I don't even want to live there. I'm going to live remotely. And as such, I don't even need to commute at all. Like I don't commute at all. My commute is literally from upstairs down here, and I take my kids to school. That's it, man. So if we go to a fee or a usage fee on roads, I think I got no qualm with that. Now I know people say, wait a second. Look, I get it. It's not going to happen overnight, but the left has been advocating that for a long, long time. And the Republicans should say, yeah, let's do that. But then we're going to get rid of a bunch of other taxes too, which the Republicans won't do because it took until George W. Bush before we got rid of the tax for the Spanish-American War from 1896 or whatever the hell it was. It's nuts, man. So anyway, at the end of the day, once there's a tax, it'll never go away. But the Republicans should be on that like white on rice, advocating. Yeah, we're all about that, lefties. We'll one up you and say let's propose that, but get rid of everybody else's freaking income tax or gas tax. Get rid of the gas tax. Anyway, point being is the gas tax is a regressive tax. All right, so we know for a fact that the Democrats are like, and the Republicans say, hey, you want a $15 minimum wage? Let's go 25, baby. Let's raise the price. Why you only want 15? Well, I want to fight for 25. And that's how you beat these guys. But the Republicans aren't that bright. Anyway, so what's happening is the people who don't drive much. You can say we're not truly subsidizing the people who do drive a lot because the people who drive a lot pay more of a gas tax. However, we all pay the same income tax and everything. That's in terms of percentage wise based on your income. So I don't quite believe that at all. There is something to be said about that. When it comes to transacting, though, and the fees that go with it, especially on ETFs and stuff like that, which leads to long-term capital gains being exercised and whatnot, never mind short-term capital gains, facts are we are subsidizing people who are trading a lot. That's just fact. It increases fees, man. It's not investing. Investing is you're saying I'm buying a share of said company because I believe that they're going to grow the value of that company over time. That means I think a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 from now, the dividends that these guys create, the income they create as from a pure profit perspective will be more 3, 5, 10 years from now than it is today. And as such, my investment dollar should give me what's called an ROI, return on investment. That's not gambling. That's completely investing. It's no different than going to your local mom and pop shop who's trying to raise funds. Like if you buy a cow, what you do if you buy a cow from a local farmer is you're saying in the spring, here, I'm going to pay you $1,400 for a half a cow. And that guy's going to he's going to take your money and he's going to friggin' put it to work to get that puppy grown, ready to go, ready to be butchered. Then he'll turn around and sell it to you at the end of the year. That's investing. That's literally investing because you're expecting a value at the end of the day for it with growth of the transaction. Speculating is a gamble. Hey, boys, hold on just a second. All right, speculating is not like that. Speculating is just putting on blue or put on black or put on red, whatever it is. You're saying, okay, I might win, I might lose. Gambling, that's gambling. Investing is no. I'm going to be here for the growth of the company. A lot of people do that. I said, man, all right, there's also. What's up, ladies? You got to make sure people know the difference. People say, Wall Street's a stock. Wall Street's a gamble. No, it's not. No, it's not. There's actually tangible products that you consume every day on that gamble. That doesn't make sense. You're not freaking buying a ear of corn over at your local store. That's a speculation. It's not. So anyway, I'm not a fan of Bitcoin. Not going to lie to you. I just look. People do what they got to do. I don't care. Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency. The currency is being traded, right? But currency for goods and services, there's a few goods and services out there, but not much. And so we sit here today. I'm just not buying the hype. Maybe I'll go down to my doom thinking that I did hear Bill Gates saying cryptocurrency is bad or something like that. And I posted it on my MeWe channel saying, Bill Gates, maybe this is the reason I get in cryptocurrency. That's probably reverse psychology. Some guy pointed out. He goes, I bet that's reverse psychology. Bill Gates. I said, man, that's a good point. All right, fine. And until you can transact with it, in terms of buying goods and services, I just, how do you slice and dice? I don't know. I don't know anything about it. I don't see the value there. I don't. It's just interesting to me. We shall see. We shall see. All right. M1 finance account. Right on, Kim. Carl, I believe buying bags of junk silver quarters is a viable option on precious metals. Interesting, Carl. How do you do that exactly? What do you do that? I don't know how do you buy junk silver quarters? I'm not sure how you even do that, but that's interesting. Physical gold is something I don't want to store more than a few hundred or 1,000 around the house. I completely agree, Jill. I mean, that's the thing. If you don't want your you don't want it known, hey, I got $30,000 of gold ounces. Yeah, well, we're trying not to make a target, if that makes sense. You don't want to make yourself a target. So, as such, trust me, I have minimal storage of gold to silver. Let's just put it that way. If there's a tweaker on here, he would probably say, "Oh, baby's got something." Yeah, that's a nice thing about having dogs. Early warning system. We used to call them the Army early warning systems, and I'm sure they still do. Dogs are that for sure. So dogs will alert you of the early warning of an intruder, more so probably any other thing out there. And remember, most thieves are in for self-preservation. All right, so they think you might have dogs, they think you might have guns. Yeah, they got break windows and stuff. They're going to go to an easier target. In fact, it's funny. My wife is saying that they're people in my town that were going around cars last night, just breaking into ones that were unlocked. And I said, man, that brings back memories for me as a high school kid. I used to do the same thing. Got busted, actually. Breaking into cars that were unlocked. It's just, the car locked, you move on. Car's unlocked, you go in. It's just that simple. Anyway, and it's funny. One of the issues about the key fobs is that you forget that the key fob is in the car. And so you leave it in there. And so all the thief has to do is go in there, the door's unlocked, and tap the freaking brake. And next thing you know, if the key fob is left in there, you're freaking running away with the car. I tell you, I was just reading an article on that the other day. Well, there's more thefts being stolen because key fobs are so much easier because people forget about them. There's no dangling keys sitting in the ignition, which is interesting. I never thought about it like that. Secondly, a lot of people, no one drives sticks anymore. So because no one knows how to drive a stick, young kids will steal cars because they don't have to worry about driving a stick shift. I was telling my wife, I said, next time we buy a car, we got to buy a stick, man. She goes, no, I don't like driving sticks. I said, man, driving sticks will keep your car, A, it's cheaper, B, will keep your car freaking free from, thieves. 3, it's fun to drive. It's fun to drive a stick. I haven't driven a stick in a long time, and I miss them, man. It's fun. All right. Jeremy from Maine says he ain't missing his live stream. Jeremy hasn't gotten refreshed on proper etiquette. There's no word as ain't, Jeremy. Is isn't. I am not. I was getting ready to correct you, and I screwed up. Tom says, yep, 100%. My thoughts are that the government likes your tax dollars and doesn't really want to wait any more than they have to. I agree. Yep. If you're using silver utensils, no one will ever suspect. There you go. A plot of land where it should basically be so I'm listening to my man, and a lot of people don't like this guy, Owen Benjamin. I actually like him a lot. He cracks me up. He's a comedian, but he's very, what's the word I'm looking for? He doesn't give a crap. He'll say what as interesting as all could be. Yeah, I was listening to him. He said the exact thing. He talked about Bitcoin. He goes, you know what has a value, a tangible value? And he was saying this about the US dollar too. It wasn't just Bitcoin. He goes, the ability to freaking, my land in northern Idaho has value. I can plant stuff. I got a wood burning fireplace. It's like that has a value. And I said, that's so true, man. Your Bitcoin, your dollar can transact business. That's a fact. And at the end of the day, it will probably continue to be able to transact business for a long, long time. But who knows? But at the end of the day, that piece of land that you can actually make productive has a value that you can't necessarily sell it. It's not liquid. You can't take it to the store, but it does more than that. It gives you a place to grow your own food, to live your life, at least until AOC takes over. You still own it. Once AOC takes over, we're all kulaks at that point. If you're not familiar with the term kulaks, I highly suggest you read up on your Russian history. But until then, you actually have this piece of land that's yours, and you can essentially do what you want. I mean, I know the freaking EPA and their stupid land limits on you got a stream going through your backyard, Josh. You can't put a bridge over that stream. It's a water thing. You're like, huh? But at the end of the day, you can still at least grow a garden unimpeded by regulation for the most part. You see what I'm saying? And you can at least do things. And I actually think that's 100%, Jake, is A plot of land where we could basically be self-sufficient for sure, man. Detroit's in the house, right on. Plastic utensils and paper plates are easy dishwashing. You know, it's funny. We haven't heard much about plastics lately, huh? Plastic straws and plastic packaging and all that is weird. We haven't heard much about plastic and the coronavirus thing. In fact, if anything, we're packaging more stuff and using plastics all the time. It's almost like the lefties can't make up their mind what they want to scare us about. It's plastics one day, and then we need more plastics the next day. Crazy, man. Buffett and Munger hate crypto. Gates wants their money in his foundation. Interesting. Nanko says she's tired of subsidizing everyone else never had kids with paid. Yeah, well, that's the they'll argue, Nancy, that the more you pay in taxes, property tax and else, the better your school districts are and the less violent crime and stuff there'll be. And there's absolutely no evidence of that at all. None whatsoever. It's actually kind of funny. The more you pay, the more services you get is the argument. It's you're like looking at Washington, D.C. They have one of the highest per pupil expenditures in the country, if not the highest. And I think it was Idaho that had the lowest. And if you look at in terms of just basic test scores and stuff, Idaho smoked Washington, D.C. It's nuts. And I find that all that, silly, but I get it. They're saying, look, having, spending per pupil does not make a better school. It certainly doesn't make a more educated kid. In this day and age, hold on just a second. I'm actually questioning whether or not I'm actually questioning and I got 4 kids all through public school. So I don't want to say, everyone say, oh, you don't know what it's like. Yeah, I do. But I'm questioning if the schools, well, I don't question, I'm actually very convinced having your kid in public school is actually bordering on abuse in this day and age for sure. Not all the public schools, there are some that are hanging on there by a thread. But the one thing Reagan didn't do, he should have got rid of the Department of Education. He should have got rid of that, but he did not. And look where you are today. It's an evil. It's ugly. It's evil. They are horrific people up there, the DOE, and their tentacles are getting everywhere. Even the most rural part. I was reading today, Fauquier County in Virginia, a pretty conservative county. Even they have critical race theory stuff, and just like the tentacles go deep, man. I mean, horrible. This is horrible stuff, man. Horrible. Robin DiAngelo crap. Of course, she's white. How ironic. And she's making big bucks off of white guilt. Look, if you're going to be a white guy guilty, just give your money to black people at least. Don't give it to freaking Robin DiAngelo. If you're going to be a guilty white guy, just give it to blacks. Just say, first black guy you see, here's some money. Don't give it to freaking Robin DiAngelo. Please, for the love of the good Lord. She's a grifter, man. God. And yet they're doing it so they can get their freaking social credit score and get pats on the back. Actually, funny story. I got a ding on my YouTube channel yesterday. It says it said a person saw one of my videos and told YouTube it violated his or her privacy. And I said, what video is that? And so I looked at it, I said, this one? It was a wealth management firm, which I'll probably not name here, but that I said not very diverse, and I showed that everybody in their whole staff was white except for one black guy who's from Africa. And these guys, hey boys, are you coming back in? I said these guys are the biggest hypocrites because I got an argument with a clown, the CEO of this firm, on Facebook a few years back when I used to be part of XY Planning Network. And he was all about, freaking diversity, women, blacks, minorities, the whole thing. I said, and I just said, let me take a look at his board. I said, isn't that interesting? I think there's one lady and all the rest are white guys. I said, interesting. So I posted back, said, for all the talk, I said, you're big hat, no cattle, because all your talk, I don't see any people in there, any minorities. And I see one woman. I don't even remember if there's a woman or not, actually. I don't think there was. And then he emailed me back kind of sheepishly, yeah, we're going to work on changing that. We're going to work on changing that. But still, it's a good goal. I said, well, yeah, but you're all talk, man, and no action. And so 3 years later, I said, this is after the George Floyd thing. I said, let's take a gander because they were all, again, oh, Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. So let's look at these people here. Sure enough, only, not the board, but basically all the management, not one black person. I think it was one black lady who looked probably from America and one black guy who's from Africa. I said, man, you guys are freaking clowns, man. And, you know, the vast majority were white guys. And I just said, you guys freaking clowns. Just nothing but rich, spoiled white guys who got guilt-ridden because they've been born with speaking of silver spoons in their mouths. It's crazy. And anyway, so I guess I looked because I went to LinkedIn pages. I said, look at all these people posting this stuff like Black Lives Matter, diversity now, blah, blah, blah. But you looked at their corporate, and I was like, you guys are hypocrites. Nothing, I mean, is there anything worse than white guilt? The answer, of course, is no. It's embarrassing. All right, let's keep going here. Anyway, so I emailed back, and I just took the video down. I didn't need YouTube getting up my stuff, so I just said whatever. All right. Yeah, well, I like my video on Coca-Cola too. Speaking of Robin DiAngelo, did you hear what they're doing now? They're telling their employees that how to be less white. They're using Robin DiAngelo. How to be less white. I was like, what is it? Do you guys think that white people are just like, hey, you'll beat us up more? This is freaking nuts, man. I don't understand this whole diatribe crap of just screaming freaking bloody murder at anyone who's white. It's nuts. There's a lady from Smith College, Big Lib, who tried to do some rap thing I forgot what the hell it was. She was whatever. And they said, you shouldn't do that because you're white. And she's like, what? She's a big liberal up in I think it's Massachusetts. And she's like, well, I'm just as part of my thing. She goes, no, you're white. You're a cultural appropriation. And anyway, she goes, I don't think so. And they told her to leave. They wanted to fire her. And the president of the university at Smith College sent an email to everybody saying, if she didn't have to deal with the labor law, she would have fired her for basically wrong think. This is nuts. And it's like she was sitting in this class of, again, more Robin DiAngelo stuff. And she goes right across from me. This is, I was saying I don't feel comfortable talking about racial stuff. And a black guy was banging down the table, rich white women. She goes, this is a hostile work environment if there ever was. And long story short, she quit because she goes, it's literally a hostile work environment. And she goes, these people are coming after me. It's nuts. And she's a single mom with 2 kids. I said, well, I hate to say it, but that's the bed you dug, man. If you voted liberal, I can't even say that because the Republicans have been on this too. But if you've been allowing this stuff in your politics, as Republicans have too, mind you, it's always going to come back and it's going to bite you hard because you have not learned what Bolsheviks do. They eat their own ultimately. But right now it just seems to be the easy target is white guys. I'm sitting there thinking, so Coke, I'm sitting there thinking, what the hell is going on? It's the weirdest thing. It's completely racism gone amok. And do they think that whites are just going to sit there and say, it's no big deal? No, no one wants to be part of this crap, but you're going to piss people off. Nuts. I don't get it. But we're going to do it in the name of racial healing by making you the bad guy. It was nuts. It's crazy. But the funny thing is, it just, what used to be, you couldn't say anything like 5 years ago. Now people say, whatever, I don't care anymore. You know what I'm saying? It's insane, man. It's like, the idea that you're going to, it's just the whole thing's nuts. And everybody knows it. It's just very few people. Well, more and more people are getting less afraid to talk about how this is pure racism towards white people. Before, if you said anything about white people, you're inherently a freaking Nazi. Now it's like, nah, everyone's starting to see this is nuts. You guys are, the pendulum always swings too far. But anyway, going back to Coca-Cola, and all these corporate companies, you just got to wonder, man. I mean, literally, I sit there and I say, I know they're pushing this stuff just for some reason. I don't know if they're trying to get the DOJ, the OCR, Office of Civil Rights. I don't know what's going on, to get them, leave them at bay. If they're trying to pay off Al Sharpton and those rabble-rousers not to protest and from their headquarters, I don't know. But there are people in corporate America who are allowing this racism outright to permeate itself. And at some point, you got to think that can't be good for overall business. It just can't, man. And I'm all for it. I like the fact that they're doing this. It does challenge my concern, frankly, about the state of the country and how how much faith do I want to put in the capital markets relative to knowing I'm still carrying mortgage? I think about this a lot, actually. You sit there and you say, okay, we have a history of the capital markets doing quite well, but it's exclusive to the West for the most part. It's exclusive to a few countries in the West. I mean, and it's exclusive for a short matter of time over the course of not just the Industrial Revolution, but certainly over the course of humanity, if that makes sense. And you're sitting there thinking, how long is that? Is that a fart in the wind? Part of my vulgarness. I don't know how else to put it though, or is this something sustainable? And I don't know. I go back to this. I think about it a lot because I'm carrying debt. Now, the first thing I do is not carry debt, but I don't have enough money right now to pay off my debt. And if I did, in a way, I wonder, would it not be advisable to say, I'm going to pay off my debt because I'm losing my faith in the capital markets, if that makes sense. And I'm not there yet, guys. I'm not sitting there yet. The reality is when I see corporations who should know better, but it started a couple decades ago. I mean, it did. And it's just, it started in the university, and everyone said, "Oh, no big deal." And Dinesh D'Souza written a book about that, illiberal education, like in 1995 or 96 or something like that. And I remember reading that, thinking, "This is nuts." There's a guy got a book on there by a guy named Jared Taylor, and he came to George Mason to speak, and he had written a book, the Best of Intentions. I forgot what it was called, but he was kind of like a Southern historian. Somewhat took a lot of people say he's pro-white. I didn't get that impression. I thought he was radical in terms of the mainstream, but I didn't get he wasn't pro-white it wasn't that bad. I just thought it was a different perspective. And he would never get a chance to talk today at school. Anyway, Paved with Good Intentions, that was the name of the book. And he went back to history of just all this is back in the late 80s, early 90s, I guess mid 90s. And I remember I went to his thing, says I'm always interested in rabble rousing, to be perfectly honest with the people who are on the other side, outside looking in. And he was able to give a presentation, a pretty well turned out presentation too, and with respectable people. But now he came and get freaking Ben Shapiro. He's nothing. You know what I'm saying? It's like crazy. And so the point being is that happened in colleges, and then it filtered itself down to obviously politics and corporate America and whatnot. You just got to wonder what's the staying power of this. And I'm having my doubts. I am. And I'm having my doubts because you're hearing story after story after story of people who are in corporate America say, I can't take this because it's inherently racism geared towards me. And I'm not wanted. There's no other way around that. And you just got to wonder what the staying power is. Now, in some way, I'm almost wondering if it's deliberate to get less and less people employed in the U.S. and more employed overseas for cheap labor, if that makes sense. And if so, that would be good for corporate profits. At the end of the day, you're kind of buying the stock to get the corporate profits so they can fire your neighbor. I don't know. It's a dilemma. I think about it a lot. And it just seems to me, if you look at the big picture, how can a corporation run like a freaking well-oiled machine if they're having a target on the back of 25 to 40% of the employees and they can't speak up? How can that possibly happen? How can we have any kind of dialogue in society about moving the ball forward in any kind of product or service if for you to mention anything, you're going to say, oh, that's just coming from white privilege or something like that? I mean, at that point, the debate is over. I mean, I'm not the minute someone uses that, I'm done. So I don't know. And if you can't do that, how does the corporation, ultimately the country, function? And I don't know. And that's my concern. And again, I am a man of, I believe in Jesus without question. And Jesus did not promise us freaking gold and milk and honey in the U.S. Or in this world. He certainly did not. His disciples certainly weren't rewarded in this natural realm with gold, milk, and honey. That's for doggone sure. So if you're a follower of Jesus, you got to say to yourself, at the end of the day, you follow Jesus at the risk, if that makes sense. And you're sitting there thinking, okay, Do I put my faith in something that has only been relatively new and really only took off in the latter part of the 1970s? And people will say it's because Reagan. I actually give Jimmy Carter and Ted Kennedy credit for a lot of the deregulation that happened at the late 70s, man. Got deregulated the stock trades, Charles Schwab and whatnot. Deregulated the airplane industry. Deregulated the trucking industry, if memory serves. Yeah, it was definitely the airline. They deregulated a bunch of things, man. Carter did, and I don't think he gets enough credit for that. And I don't like Carter; he's an anti-Semite, but I don't like him. But at the end of the day, there was some stuff, and then Reagan came in and brought some of this Wall Street, leveraged buyouts, things of this nature. That stuff like that was never before. And then you got Clinton and Tony Blair the third way, and UK was Tony Blair, Clinton here. So you had the deregulation under the latter part of Carter's term, Reagan for sure. Then you had the Great War Machine under George H.W. Bush, Clinton not so much, but a little bit, but not as much. Certainly going to George W. Bush and Barack Obama. And that helped a lot of corporate, because there's a huge money to be made to selling your products and services to the DOD because there's just tons of money. On top of that, then you had, the deregulation, the Glass-Steagall bill, that was, and I was all for that. And in hindsight, that was a mistake. They should not have done that. That's for sure. And so you see the deregulation of some of these things, so allowed these hedge fund managers and things like that to really make bank. And now these hedge fund managers control a lot of voting shares of these corporations, and a lot of these hedge fund managers are big lefties. And then you look at Vanguard, BlackRock control, almost like half the voting interest of the stock market, something like that. It's insane amount. BlackRock and Vanguard, and if the last time I looked at BlackRock's webpage, the front page, all about green energy stuff. It's just, so you got to wonder, where's this? Where, I don't know, it just seems to me this isn't running on solid ground. That there's a lot of sand, a lot of castles being built on sand. And if so, what does that mean? I don't know, man. But this is something I think about all the time. So if we have a big calamity, one thing that you'll be glad you don't participate in is the debt market, that you pay off your debts. Whoa, hey, you, come here. So one thing you should do to keep yourself sane is get that. All right. Florida says, come here. Oh, boy. No, why are you always barking at Pablo? All right, so Frugal X Mana, right on, man. With the Fed spending soon, does it calculate avoid inflation? What does that mean? Hold on a sec. Come on, let's go. Everybody out. Go. Bye-bye. Everybody go. Everybody. What's that? Yeah, thanks, buddy. There you go. Thanks. There you go. Everybody out. Thanks. Yep. There we go. Good. Right here. So, the inflation is in the asset prices. Frugal X Mana. What part of Maine you from? The asset prices for sure. Stocks, bonds, houses. That's a fact. There hasn't been. I did a video not too long ago on looking at the inflation of everything that's consistent with not the CPI, but just the day-to-day stuff. You just have to look at the broad term. So some things are inflated, some things are not, and it's just that simple. Mel, I don't think I have it on this. It's on my other website, my other computer. But it's actually quite amazing when you look at the actual numbers. Like, oh, that's not nearly what people were saying it would be. Going back to the 1980s, because we've had debts. We've had debts as far as the eye can see, going back to during FDR, and we've never paid off the government debt. We never will. I heard that of all the dollars ever printed, like 40% were done last year. I don't know that to be true. I haven't validated, haven't fact checked it, but that's what I heard. I said, man, of all the dollars ever printed, 40% were done in 2020. So the inflation is an asset. So it's not necessarily in goods and services yet. Now, certainly in some services, trades, you get a new roof on your home. I tell you right now, man, that's going to cost a pretty penny to do that. Get just lots of things that are going to be inflated in terms of labor. And it's only going to get worse if we have a $15 minimum wage, that's for sure. But in terms of just a broad-based inflation, I just am not worried about it. I mean, as we sit here today, just going back to his thing, I still want to know how people say Japan. How do you make that argument? That Japan has a GDP, debt to GDP at 250%. They've had it like that for years, man. So how do you make the argument with all the printing that inherently leads to inflation when Japan is well before us and doing this, and there is none? And I don't know how you make the argument. I don't. The stimulus isn't going to be inflationary. I'm not worried about that in the least, actually. The stupid stimulus, that money, we know it. I did another video on this, where that money's going. It's going to pay down debt or going into savings, because it's a short-term thing. Now, if they were to make, here's the issue. A one-time stimulus does not create inflation. It's just silly. What happens is, if you want inflation in that regard, is you say, we're going to do an Andrew Yang thing. We're going to give you $3,000 a month. That will create inflation, guaranteed, because it's steady, it's perpetual. A one-time shot in the arm does not create. No one's going out there. I mean, some people are, but the vast majority of people are not going out there and buying goods, buying stuff with a one-time shot in the arm. They say, no, I'm paying down debt, which means I've already stimulated the economy with debt spending. So now I'm paying down debt. Theoretically, I might go back and buy something else again, probably, but it won't happen overnight. And the reason people are paying down debt is because they're worried about the debt they've accumulated, if that makes sense. So what happens here is you have a one-time shot in the arm. Some people will use it for a TV. I get that, 100%. Some people will use it for, I don't know, whatever. But at the end of the day, they did a study. So the most people are using it to pay down debt or put into savings in terms of if this happens again, i.e., if we cannot get by 6 months from now, how do we put freaking food on the table and pay our electric bill? And so a lot of people rightly were put in the bank as opposed to consuming it on expenditures. Or they're paying back what they've already used to stimulate the economy, which is debt. And so the stimulus is stupid. If they want inflation, they got to give a UBI. And I would be all for getting rid of a UBI, starting a UBI if we got rid of all of the welfare stuff. 100%. I think it'd be great. Nixon, I was reading a conservative guy today or yesterday talk about Nixon, the best president in history. I said, you cannot be conservative and argue that Nixon was the best president in history, but he claims to be a conservative. That's freaking nuts. Anyway, but the point being, Nixon wanted essentially a UBI back in the 70s, maybe in 1968 or 69. That was pretty much well before all the crap we got now. You see what I'm saying? So if you want to say, look, we're going to just say, here, Grandma Jones, here's $2,000 a month. Go crazy. She'll still get her Social Security. She'll still get a Medicare, but will be no more freaking Section 8, no more EBT cards, no more this, no more WIC, no more all that. Done. Get rid of it all. Dude, I'm 100% talk about efficient. Just make a voucher program. Absolutely. I'm all about that. So I'm not worried about inflation. I'm not. And people say, have you seen what the price of a new diesel truck is? All right. Well, are you buying a new diesel truck? How many people are? I'm not. Are you? I mean, if you are, that means it sucks. Yeah, that's an asset. But don't forget, going back to solar photovoltaic versus reliable energy. This is going to go back. Believe it or not, this is a good segue. All right, so electric vehicles powered by solar panels, for instance, or even by wind is stupid. So if you go back to, everyone says, you're like in the horse and buggy. All right, what did a horse and buggy do? How far could you go? How much did it cost? How many people could you transport? Could you do in the mud, in the snow? I mean, think about it. So the horse and buggy to upgrade to the Ford Model T was a factor of, in terms of upgrade, I don't know, freaking 1,000 million times. All right. That's the difference between going from what we have now, reliable energy with a freaking gas tank that can go a long way, that has tons of gas stations all over the place, that is reliable as all can be, all right, versus an electric vehicle that doesn't give me any kind of upgrade like that. It's just all there is to it. That also needs to be charged. The charging takes a hell of a lot longer than it does just to fill up a tank. The list goes on and on and on. The the EVs do not have the same upside as a Model T did with a horse and buggy. And so I get it on my channel all the time. You're like a Luddite going back to horse and buggy. Okay, so horse and buggy to Model T. higher, more range, more reliability. Could take more people. It just, you didn't have to feed it, the whole thing. That is a big jump. Actually, you can make an argument going from ICE, internal combustion engine, to an electric vehicle is actually going back. People aren't inclined to go backwards, man. They go forward. They're willing to pay a price. They're not going backwards. Now, you can make the argument, but we're going to save the environment. No one believes that, dude. They just don't. No one believes that crap. You can make the argument that it's funner to drive. Okay, I get it, man. It's an electric vehicle. Can go off 0 to 60 a hell of a lot quicker than an ICA. That's fun. I get it. It's quieter. I get all that. No one's going to pay a premium unless they got this crazy money for that. The vast majority of people just are not going to do that. Just not going to happen. And so all these people comparing horse and buggies to, you want to go back, just dealing with greens, like I said in my community section on my channel, it's like arguing with my children, man. Well, my children are 10 years younger than they are today. But Dad, why? Because I said, but Dad, everybody else is doing this. Yeah, and everybody else's mom is friggin', drunk as a skunk with a monk, and she doesn't know that you're walking out of the street at 3 o'clock in the morning. You're not doing it. But Dad, why? It's like, I'm like, holy crap. There's no logic to these people, man. It's nuts. Yeah, exactly. The elites, that's the thing, man. Everyone in DC hates us. Everyone does. It's not Trump. It's you. It's you. Truly, Jeremy, you'll never understand what the Roth is maxed out at $6,000 a year. Really? Do you not see the tax bomb that is in your IRA? Someone should write a book about that. The tax bomb that is in your IRA that affects everything else downstream that you do not know about until you came across your old buddy Josh. Tom says, I was watching a video on someone drilling a well. I was surprised how much power the well pump takes to bring water up. They try to use a small watt online and no work. Yeah, I mean, that's 5,000. They tried using a 5,000 watt. I'm not sure what that means. A 5,000 watt online and like a pump. I'm not sure what Tom's saying there, but yeah, you need electricity for pumps. It's shocking. And if you're doing a well and that sucker goes, 300 feet down? Oof. That's why, by the way, there'll never be hydro, massive amounts of hydro. To get the hydro up so you can get the head for it to drop to turn the turbine. But this is why public schools, they like it. They like feeding ignorance. You should see the crap my kids come home with, man. It's nuts. Thankfully, you can hear a pop or Finney there. Thankfully, my daughters are more inclined to challenge me, but they're open-minded. So that's good. My boy's a little bit younger. My Kevin, he's like, he doesn't care. He's like, whatever. Liam is like, yeah, he always looks for what are they trying to, insinuate here? It's very, very interesting. And so we have discussions on that. Chloe, I'm just trying to teach her critical thinking. So she came in the other day saying how, SeaWorld was doing all this bad stuff. They had to watch a video on that and all that. And I said, okay, let's look up. Let's just see if there's an alternative explanation to all this horrific accusations of SeaWorld. And lo and behold, there was. A lot of the crap is just literally, it's like Michael Moore and Roger and me. It's completely fake, man. Fake stuff. And yet they're putting that stuff for your kids to see. And so I said, look, Chloe, I'm not telling you that some of the stuff they're saying is not right. I'm saying there's always a different side of view, a different point of view. Always. Even when I say something, man, always a different point of view. And you always got to see what the other point of view is before you make a decision. And the way you know that you're probably getting closer to the truth is the more erratic and hostile the people who are advocating a certain point of view are getting more and more the more you question them. The vaccine stuff, I'm telling you right now, everyone says you're anti-vax. No, not in the least. I am interested as to what is happening with the health of our children today with diseases and allergies and things of that nature. I have no clue, but we have a significant rise in the number of vaccines that are given to children. We have a significant rise in the number of health issues with children. That's just fact. Is there a correlation there? I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, it's a correlation. Is there a causation there? I don't know. I'm curious. And the minute you start saying, is there something here? People scream bloody murder at you. I'm like, if you're seeking the truth, why would you not be open to all dialogues? Because they don't seek the truth. And so you say, okay, well, show me the proof that says the level of shots that children get from the CDC recommended list is safe, that there's no side effects. And I'm not just talking about autism. I'm just talking about where is it? And there isn't any. They come up with a couple of things. You're like, have you actually read this? Because if you actually dive into it, it doesn't say what you think it does. Now, the headline says it, but it doesn't. Now, again, does that mean vaccines don't work? No, I have no idea. But I'm interested. And if we're going to be mandating stuff into my kids, yeah, I want to know if it's legit. Global warming. I had a guy, I subscribed to his email thing, and I like him. He said, talk about Ben. Look, I'm not the biggest fan of Ben Shapiro. He never did much to me. I don't get the whole. It's just, I mean, look, I got no problem with him, but I never thought he was like, oh my goodness, Ben Shapiro. I never, whatever. Anyway, he was, bagging on Ben Shapiro, saying he doesn't know a thing about climate change, so why don't you just shut your pie hole? And I said, dude, he's like, climate change is not a hoax, Ben. I said, no one says climate change is a hoax, fool. And I just said, this is weird. Like I said, the more hostile people get because they're trying to defend their argument, the more they don't know what they're talking about. We're going back to Christianity, the older Christianity. When I was growing up, if you commit 100 sins, you're going to hell. You're like, where does it say that? It says it in the Bible. And you're like, oh, I'd like to see it. It's in there. And it turns out it's not in there. And you're like, why are you being so hostile? I just want to see the evidence. There it is. That's how you know that their other side is built on thin ice, when they start screaming bloody murder at you. Now, when people start looking for the truth, they say, I'm just interested. I'd like to see. And people start saying, hey, check this out. Now, you might not agree with this or that. That A means they've read the damn thing, pardon my French, but B, it also means that they're open to a dialogue. And I tell you, it's the vaccine people, it's the global warming people, now it's the COVID people. Those are the big three. You're like, this is nuts. It's a religion. No other way around that. It's a religion for people that it's weird. It's actually quite frightening. All right. Jan says, should we do reverse mortgage even if we don't need it? I like reverse mortgages. And I will get one as long as I'm ready to stay at that house and call it a career. So when I hit 62, I will get a reverse mortgage line of credit if, Jan, that's the place, the ball and chain and I agree that's where we'll stay our last years. Because remember, a reverse mortgage line of credit grows. It grows, and it grows at a decent clip, too. Off the top of my head, I can't remember what it is, but it does grow, even if you don't use it. And that is money that comes out tax-free, that you can use tax-free. I'm just telling you. And so the issue on reverse mortgage that I think a lot of people overlook is the fees that it costs are based on the fair market value of your home, not the line amount, but the fair market value. All right, so just for simplicity, if you have a $100,000 house today, all right, and you take, for simplicity, a $50,000 line of credit on a reverse mortgage, all right, you're going to pay the fee. I think it's 2% of the $100,000. As there's more to it than that, but I'm just for the home and the insurance cost to the Ginnie Mae, or is it to FEHA? I think it's insurance to FHA. Is 2% of the fair market value to, I think it's FHA who does who backs them. Correct me if I'm wrong. If my man Sergio's on here, he can correct me too. But at the end of the day, what happens, the fee is based on the fair market value of your home when you take out the reverse mortgage, even if you don't draw against it. So if I have a $100,000 house today and I take reverse mortgage out, I'm going to pay 2%. That's just one part of the fee for the insurance that I got to pay the FHA. All right. Now that $50,000 line of credit is growing at a clip of whatever the established interest rate is when we took out the debt. So say I don't want that. I'm going to wait. So now I'm going to take out the loan in when I'm in 10 years. Now my $100,000 house is worth $200,000. All right, my fee is still 2%. It might be more at that point simply because more and more people are going to do this service. So that's $4,000. I know for a fact that if my fair market value has doubled, the home insurance amount, the insurance amount to the mortgage insurance amount to FHA has doubled as well. So in some way, to take it out early, you're getting your line of credit to grow at an earlier rate, which means I think if memory serves, is compounding as well. So that's a good way to build potential assets for which you can draw down. But you're also paying the less amount of your your fee, because your fair market value most likely will grow as your house fair market value increases. Hope that makes sense. So if you like your home and you're expecting to stay in there and you don't need it, yeah, I'll do it. Remember, you got to be 62. Well, I mean, one of the homeowners has to be 62. That's a fact. So just keep that in mind. Yeah, everybody and their mom's talking about ARC. I frankly don't care. I shudder at every 3 years we have a new Kathy Woods out there, and it doesn't help her that she's an attractive lady. I'll tell you right now. I mean, she looks pretty, and you got a pretty lady out there who's a woman in the industry. She has returns to boot. I mean, it's a great story. You got a lady, she looks good, and she's got great returns. I got no quality. I wouldn't. I'm not touching it. Now, if you want to throw some bones out there, I think we had a guy on the YouTube channel say he threw, $20,000 at her or something like that. More power to you. The drawback too is, don't forget, is the bigger asset base you get, the harder it is to find those perfect stocks. This is why Vanguard is so good at what they do on their active management funds. They close the funds out to new investors, because the bigger their asset base gets, the more money they have to use to buy stocks that are kind of second and third tier. And they don't really want to do that. If you want to be a good active managed fund, you really got to be concentrated and just pick your top stocks, man. And that might mean you could get smoked too, but the bigger you get, the more of a closet indexer you become. And if you're charging a pretty significant fee, closet indexing is the absolute worst way to invest. A fund with lots of assets, they have to spread those assets among many different stocks. They can't help but become a closet index, and that fee doesn't justify it. And so just be careful there. Hey, Mary, they want Dan. Government doesn't want me getting a sweet pre-tax. 20 degrees, a lot of snow in Central Mass. Well, it is wintertime. If you want pipelines, don't buy master limited partnerships, buy C corps. All right, Larry says my stress test is 100% for all. Yeah, it's always that way. So remember, Larry, so on Right Capital, it's a good question. So Larry's looking at his Right Capital. He goes, man, my stress test is saying I'm 100% for everything except combined. So combined is literally all those things thrown together, if that makes sense. And this is one thing I say to people. If we're going to have a 20% market crash, we're going to have an increase in inflation by 1%, Social Security falls by 20%, taxes go up by 20%, healthcare goes up by 20%, whatever you choose in there. Two of those things are almost mutually exclusive. 1% increase in inflation over what I'm already using, which is 2. Social Security won't be reduced in that regard because there is cost of living adjustments, if that makes sense. So I don't want to say it's mutually exclusive, that they both can't exist, but pretty much if we have a pretty significant increase in inflation, your Social Security will increase in inflation with inflation as well. Your COLAs will, for sure. But yeah, in theory, if all those things happen, healthcare goes up, taxes go up, inflation goes up, market correction, all that stuff. Yeah, I mean, you could be in a world of hurt, no doubt. And that means tighten the belt. Is that likely to happen? No, it's not. But, again, this is where you just got to be fluid and nimble. I wouldn't look at this every day. I'll tell you that right now, because it changes literally you will have a different Monte Carlo. And if you had 100%, maybe not. But if you're like 90, hell, even 80%, and the market goes down 10%, your Monte Carlo will show less than 80%. Every day it changes based on what your portfolio has done for the day, if that makes sense. Which is why it's good to link your accounts, by the way. Because if you're linking your accounts, it keeps it up to date. Vanguard is somewhat problematic. Their multi-authentication makes it a little bit difficult, but it still works. I know for a fact. Every now and again, you got to get off and get back on. But if you're linking your accounts, it updates it. And your financial planning numbers will be real time. Some liberals are targeting me. I think you're probably right. Hey, right on, James Watch with his pops. Hello, Mr. Palace. Right on. What's going on in Greece? I think James is third generation. Is this third generation? So granddad first, right? Mr. James is dad second, and James third, right? So I'm second gen. Oh wait, my dad's dad is Irish. Is that me third generation? Is my dad's dad Irish? I can't remember. I think he was. Or was I can't. No, man, I don't know. What's my WhatsApp handle? Right on, man. There's a big imper on the Money Guy show. Watch out for him too. What's an imper? Vacationing in Tucson. Right on. Yep. Land is important, especially land with a year-round river, pond, deep well. Can I agree more? All right. Do your research and make your test cases fall. I agree with that. I mean, look, I mean, this is where I vacillate. At the end of the day, you cannot argue with what the S&P 500 has done, not just in 50 years, since 1871. Now, you can argue, well, did anyone really own the S&P 500? No. But what I'm saying is, the capital markets have been a wonderful, wonderful mechanism to make middle-class people upper middle class, to make lower income people middle income people, and such and such. It really has done remarkable things. It made lower income people wealthy beyond their wildest dreams. The Microsoft the millionaire secretary, the Microsoft millionaires, that's what they used to call them. The secretary of Microsoft with stock options would become a millionaire. So I at the end, look, I just wonder. I just sit there and say, we are printing money like crazy. We had a higher first time on jobs file unemployment claims again, still in the low 900s or high 800,000s. First time job unemployment claims. So none of this is looking. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And at some point, if it doesn't make sense, you can say, well, it's different now. Well, we've heard that a million times a Sunday, folks. It's different today. It's always different. But I tell you, at the end of the day, I still wonder, and big corporations are all about a minimum wage of $15. We know that. Why? Because they know that they won't have to hire that many people. And they know they can automate some of the lower entry jobs. This isn't freaking rocket science. And they'll save them a hell of a lot of money. They're willing to pay significant money up front for AI and robots, knowing there's no sick leave, knowing that there's no freaking coronavirus, knowing that this and that, just knowing there's no healthcare insurance they have to pay for, knowing there's no cocaine being sold and all that. They know this, man. And as such, they're willing to take the upfront hit not to have labor. You can't blame them. Hell, they're getting freaking robots that can pick your food out there in your strawberry fields. I mean, that's going to be a boon. That's not inflationary, by the way. It's not. It's just not. But if you're a corporation, a big corporation, you can afford that. You're like, man, I'll go to the capital markets. I'll raise money. I'll spend buku money getting these robots. That's what capital markets, i.e. investing, are good for. It's not speculating, but what is Joe Pa? Remember Joe Pa? Mom and Pop, what do? They don't have that kind of money. They still got to pay freaking Alexander Ocasio-Cortez to wait tables and stuff like that. You see what I'm saying? It's such a freaking scam. Everybody knows it, except everybody knows it. And so what happens here is you're going to have more and more big corporations, fewer and fewer mom and pop shops. And it's like the coronavirus has allowed us to get comfortable shopping online. And what does that do? Now, here's the interesting thing is mom and pop shops can still thrive on Amazon. One of the things I don't like when people get all mad at Amazon, I get it, man. But at the end of the day, Amazon has been good for me. I sell books on Amazon. I don't like that. If you have a rebel flag, we're going to ban you. That's freaking stupid, man. But by and large, they're not doing that all that much. Will they do it? Probably. But as we see here today, Amazon has been good. eBay has been good. I don't use Etsy. A lot of these places have been quite good for local producers. That's just a fact. So I'm keen on it. At the end of the day, though, for a fact, your local mom and pop retail shop, I don't know. I don't know how it's going to survive. And a $15 minimum wage thrown on top of that, never mind all the other regulations that go in it. I don't know how it's going to survive. And so where do those people go for work? Because not just the owners of these companies, but the employees, a lot of times you get your kids working for you. A lot of times you get the local high school kid coming in, bagging groceries and stuff. Where are those people going to work? And they can all start their own Etsy shop. I hope so. I just don't think that's feasible, but hopefully they do. And so you're going to get a UBI to make up the difference. That's what's happening. And you just got to wonder, well, what does this do? This isn't inflationary. None of this is inflationary. It's just not. So what does this do now, by the way? Well, it creates a society that says, we're going to have, it's fascism. And when I say fascism, it's not jackbooted brown shirts. It's big government dictating to big corporations how to run their business. But they'll let big corporations keep the profits. And they'll socialize the risk and they'll privatize the profits, as long as those profits get funneled back to the big government through campaign contributions and stuff. It's a freaking great scheme. But is that good for the overall economy? I don't know. Is that good for overall entrepreneurship? Maybe. That's interesting. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know where that leads, but it's coming, man. It's coming fast and furious. And I just sit there and think, just because the S&P 500 of the last, literally going back to 1870s have done so well, it will continue on. And I just like, well, that hasn't happened in every other country. Very few have done like we have. Are we the divine exception, or have we already, freaking peed in the wind too much, and now it's coming back on us because we've lived so large and we've not allowed. We just got too fat and happy. And look, I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just literally, stream of consciousness here. What I think about. I don't know. I just know that at the end of the day, the one thing that would make me happier is not having any debt. If that makes sense. No debt gives you a lot more choices, man. All there is to it. So, yeah, I'm not a big fan of gold and silver funds. I think if you're gonna, that's just stocks, Jill. That's not the hard asset. If you're gonna buy gold and silver, damn, buy the hard asset. And by the way, gold and silver stocks will be in VTI or the C fund, maybe not the C fund, maybe, but certainly the total stock index. So, I'm not a big fan of gold and silver stocks, not in the least. All right. Let's see. All right. Some day traders are very skilled and can make money consistently. What is the difference between an HSA and an FSA? So a flexible savings account is use it or lose it, James. You have to use it every year. If you don't, it's gone. So HSA is completely different, actually. So FSA, you can use like contact solution. I remember using that. You can use, I'm sure you can use prescription drugs and whatnot. But if you don't use it, it's gone. So HSA is usually preferable for sure. Yeah, most day traders eventually lose. Completely agree. I have done a video of Chicken Charlie on option trading in order to generate income, and the video is called "How I Got Skunked" or "How I Got Smoked in Options," or maybe how I got killed selling covered calls. I think. Let me see. But I did do a video on that. And I sold covered calls with the best of them until I got killed, which is why you don't listen to, which is people say, what's your investment recommendation? Man, if you knew my track record on investments, you would stay far away from me, man, because my track record sucks. I can't. Anyways, how I got killed in covered calls. If someone wants to look at my channel, you can find it. But it's a good video. Last year, RMD is not required. Do you know if that might be happening again for 2021? Yeah, I don't know. Great question, Sharon. Anyone know? RMD is going to be unlikely, says Vinyl. Until we get some legislation being voted on. I don't even really. And it's like, for instance, Devin Carroll did a video on flat Social Security. Everybody gets the same. Until something like that is even remotely coming down the pike in legislation, I just think it's a waste of time to concern yourself with it for sure. Look, remember, Congress doesn't actually write legislation. It's written by special interests. All right. So, even the Trump tax bill, all this stuff is written by special interests. They hand it to the friggin', the chairman of the House Ways and Means. It goes through committee. It gets passed by the House. So it goes to the Senate. It passes, goes through committee, all this stuff. No, there's no congressman, AOC or MGT or MTG. Marjorie Taylor Greene. Is it Marjorie Taylor Greene or Marjorie Greene Taylor? I think it's MTG. So from AOC, crazy one, to MTG, who I like. Oh, you like her? Yeah, I like anyone who stands against the DC mob, and she does. So I like it, absolutely. Anyway, anyone, and she's local, by the way, which is cool. So anyone who, no one writes these bills. They're just told what to write by their special interest groups. It's just all there is to it. So to speculate without actually seeing any verbiage, it's just a waste of time. So don't worry about it. I would imagine RMDs would probably, I don't even know. I'm not going to say, I have no clue. I have no idea what they're thinking. Yeah, there you go. So with COVID, I've been driving about 100 miles a month compared to 1,200 miles a month before. Yeah. Roth is the best investment vehicle. Yeah, I completely agree without question. Kim says, I think President Biden has backed down on student loan debt and says all kids need to go back to school. Well, it's not him. I mean, he's completely gone. Whoever his handlers are. Remember, Valerie Jarrett was Obama. Obama's just a mouthpiece. I don't even know who Biden's puppet master is. It's certainly not Jill. I mean, she's about as smart as a rock. I give it to Valerie Jarrett. She was good. She was effective. I give it to Michelle Obama. A lot of people are anti-Michelle. I thought she was effective, man. I mean, look, I don't think she's all that bright, but I think from a political perspective, she was good. She knew how to rabble-rouse when it needed to be rabble-roused and knew how to back off when it didn't. And now they set the dialogue back a long ways to those guys for sure. But from a perspective of riling up your base, I thought both those guys are quite effective. Valerie Jarrett was the brains behind the operation. What's his name? Axelrod. He had Deval Patrick's governor campaign in Massachusetts, the first black governor in Massachusetts, and that was the minor leagues for Obama, and it worked. Because all the white guilt out there. So many white guys, I'm going to vote for Deval Patrick to show them not racist. It's like it never works, man. You can never prove a negative, folks. Stop with this stuff. You cannot prove you're not something. You can only prove you are something. And how do you prove that you are a good human being? Well, it's by being a good human being. But Josh, you say some things that are, look, I get it. I try. I see some idiots on there, and I just, I try my best, believe it or not, to bite my tongue, but sometimes I'm just like a guy today. What do you say on my YouTube channel? And I always say when I say something, I say, man, I know Jesus, like, dude, that doesn't advance the cause. I know he's sitting up there saying that. And I was like, I know, but it makes me feel better, Jesus. And I know Jesus, like, well, you won't feel great when you're in front of me and I hold you accountable for these things you're doing on my behalf. And it's not like, in Jesus' name, I'm not like that, but if you're holding yourself out as a man who loves Jesus, and remember, if loving the Lord is wrong, I don't want to be right. You really need to disengage from lunacy arguments, because the people who you're engaging are lunatics, which means inherently you're going to be a lunatic. Don't be a lunatic. But it feels better sometimes when people say stupid stuff. This is what the guy says. So I posted up a bit of my channel and said, I said, Texas, huh? And I said how the windmills were frozen, and they actually cost. They weren't producing electricity, but to keep them warm, to winterize them, they're using electricity, so they're a net cost to the grid, not adding to the grid. And I was hoping someone would walk into the trap, because this was in Minnesota. And the guy says, well, they should have winterized. They should have Scotland, where it's colder than there. We don't have any problems with windmills. They should have winterized the windmills. I said, I didn't realize that Scotland is colder than Minnesota. Interesting. And secondly, Minnesota has winterized the windmills. They're fool. That's why they have to keep them warm with electricity to run a motor to keep those things warm so they can be winterized. Anyway, it's fun. But it's like, and I said, so basically you don't know what the hell you're talking about. I said, I shouldn't say that, but I still hit send because it felt good for an instant second. But it's like, gotta stop engaging the trolls, man. Somebody said, you want to add to the fire that's keeping you warm and starve the fire that's burning you down, if that makes sense. I'm butchering this. I thought that's my man Owen Benjamin. He said that. I thought that was great. This is one of the first things I heard him say. So that's actually pretty profound. You want to add to the fire that's keeping you warm and choke or starve the fire that's burning you down. Essentially, don't feed the trolls. Don't feed them, man, because all you're doing is you're adding to the fire that's taking you down with it, if that makes sense, with them, if that makes sense. But the fires that are keeping you warm, the people here, you want to add to that, engage, talk, love, pray, be happy, smile, do what you can. Cute humor is saying, I'm quitting at 55. If I can work longer than that, the tax will kill me if cancer does it first. Jake says he loves rural living in Western Mass there, Jake. And remember, so here's our man Jake, living in the Mecca, probably the most liberal state in the union. All right, now here's the issue. If you don't have a lot of money on paper, you don't pay that much in taxes. I cannot stress this enough. This is why I am not contributing to tax deferred accounts. I cannot stress this enough. If you don't have that much money to begin with, it doesn't look like you have that much income for which to tax you. And as such, you don't pay that much tax, even in Massachusetts. Massachusetts actually isn't as bad as a lot of people think. Just be careful up there, Jake, because they have the worst estate tax in the union now, does the Commonwealth. And I'm sure old Charlie Baker is on that. He's going to save us all. Anyway, just recognize that Massachusetts estate tax, last I saw, is $1 million. $1 million, which is all inclusive. If you own it, it's going into your estate, which includes life insurance. Just FYI, if you own life insurance, even if you name your wife as the beneficiary or your kids as the beneficiary, it is going into your estate and would be taxed as such. Now, if your estate is being left to your spouse, you'll get a deferral on that. She will pay the estate tax upon her death. But if it's not left to her, it's going to kids or to your buddy Josh, it will be subject to estate tax in Massachusetts, and soon probably in the federal realm again too, because Sniffy Joe wants to bring it back to I think it was a 2 million exemption or 4 million exemption. I can't remember, but it was pretty low from where it is today. So just FYI, and it'd be funny because the Democrats, they control it all, and they got it's not a sizable majority in either house, but they control it, man. They can pass and whatever legislation they want. So if they want to, lower the estate tax exemption to kill middle class people, it's right there for the taking, man, without question. But Massachusetts is bad, so don't die in Massachusetts if you have any kind of estate, which includes real estate, life insurance, and any kind of assets that you have. Yeah. Eric's in Wisconsin. I'm very close to the camera tonight. Oh, really? I'm usually just about where I usually am. Huh. Weird, Dan. Just paid an extra $70 tag fee because our SUV is a hybrid. So so if it wasn't a hybrid, it's just pure gas, you wouldn't have to pay that fee. Or if it's pure electric, you wouldn't have to pay that fee. All right. If the tax on qualified dividends and capital gains up to $40K means any, okay. And so I'm assuming you're single. So if the 0% tax on qualified dividends and capital gains up to $40K means $40K. All right. So let's analyze this. So if you had a $40,000 distribution from an IRA, all right, anything from qualified dividends and capital gains from then would be taxed at 15%, just FYI. If you had $20,000 distribution from IRA and $25,000 split up between qualified dividends and capital gains, the first $20,000 is still not, again, we're assuming this is taxable income, not AGI. We're assuming it's taxable income after standard deduction. So if you have $20,000 of distributions from an IRA, plus $25,000 of qualified dividends and capital gains, the first 20,000, is not subject to any tax, and the next 5 is subject to 15%. Hope that makes sense. So a lot of people think they can have $1 million in capital gains, long-term capital gains, and not subject to any tax. It's simply not true. It's just not true. So just keep that in back of mind. Now, if you have If you have no IRA distribution and you have $50,000 of qualified dividends, long-term capital gains, and going on a $40,000 taxable income, only $10,000 of that is subject to 15% taxes. Hope that helps. Who let the dogs out? His parents' internet sucks. Maine, man. If you pick up a starving dog and make him prosperous, he will not bite you. This is a principal difference between a dog and a man. Yeah. Harry says, I think Harry's in New York City. I use less electricity than last month. My bill is higher this month. And it's probably because it's winter, I would think. I wouldn't blame that on Sniffy Joe quite yet. I'm willing to blame a lot. I'm not going to blame that on him yet. I'm tired of, we talked about that already. All right. Yeah, my man Frank, he bought XOM in November just like I did. We're rich, I tell you. Yeah, right on. Max says, with stocks, I own a piece of the company and want to be partners in the growth. 100%, man. 100%. All right. Yeah, Gates likes fake beef. Gates likes fake beef too. Ugh, that guy just creeps me out, man. The feds are working on cryptocurrency. Yeah, without question, they're working. I'm telling you that we are going to a cashless society. That's that's inevitable. Yeah, I think you're right. Ever since Elon bought it, I completely agree, Harry. So Harry says when Elon bought Bitcoin, set a 4 under it. I don't know about the 4 so much, but definitely gave it some staying power. But can you buy pizza with Bitcoin? I mean, it's just we'll see. I'm still not convinced. The people say, you're a Luddite. Luddite, I think it's a Luddite, whatever it is. I don't think so, man. I mean, it's until you can trade with it, i.e. currency, i.e. buy things. Do you like the QYLD writes cover calls on NASDAQ, pays 11% dividend on the monthly? Anytime you're writing covered calls, you're limiting your upside. So I mean, that's the issue with the covered calls, Greg. So it's less risky than owning what's called a naked stock. And naked stock just means you have no, you can lose everything. A naked option. That's what I'm going to say. A naked option means you could literally lose everything. But it's also less risky than owning the Qs, the NASDAQ by itself. The issue though is limiting your upside. Because when the call gets exercised, you're either having the shares taken from you at a higher price, or the shares go down, which at least you got some income for it, or stay flat. So when you're writing covered calls, the best thing is that volatile, but not so volatile the shares get taken away from you, and not so volatile on the downside that you're so far underwater that you'll never get it back. You really want volatility, but to stay flat. And NASDAQ is not known to stay flat over a course of 3 to 5 years' time. So I'm not a fan of that. Assuming a retirement age of 65, generally, when do you move from wealth accumulation to wealth preservation? I always look about 2 years ahead, David, and it looks like he's showing Alabama. Boy. So we'll give him the benefit of the doubt because, the SEC, you know how I feel about the SEC. Alabama is the exception. I get it. And LSU last year, I get it. Last couple of years, I got to hang my head in shame. The SEC has played out. There's a time there, though, SEC was going less than 500 in bowls, and everyone's still saying, but we're winning the championship. And I say, yeah, but the Patriots are winning the championship too, the Super Bowl. So we're going to say the AFC East is the best freaking division. The Patriots are winning the championship. And we're saying, okay, so the Patriots win the championship from the AFC East, but the AFC sucks. The Alabama's win the championship from the SEC, but the SEC is going friggin' sub 500 in the bowls. But the SEC, the best conference ever. Just because ESPN says it? Yeah. But the last 2 years, not true. SEC has made a fool out of me. That's for damn sure. Anyway, I say 2 years before you retire. we want to make sure you don't get bumped, man. We want to make sure you got at least 2 years of cash, man. At the very minimal, 2 years of cash. We can't have you getting bumped off in those first 2 years. It just can't. And so I just said at that stage, preservation is more important than accumulation. So just lay off the gas, get 2 years of cash on the side, and just hang tight, man. But you might miss some growth. Well, that you should have been getting those growth the last 35 years. You need these 2 years to just get everything in order. You cannot afford a 2000, a 2001, a 2002, or a 2007, 8, 9. You can't do it. Yeah, I've talked about the rule of 55 a million times, man. So the rule of 55, just remember, folks, if you leave work, your company, from when you turn the age of 55 and you leave your money at your employer, you have access to it without penalty, all right? As long as you don't roll it to an IRA, you have access to it without penalty, but not without taxes. You're still paying income tax. So just keep that in the back of your mind. It's the rule of 55, essentially. It just says, hey, I'm 55 years old. I just quit my crappy little job at Coke because I don't want to hear Robin DiAngelo. I'm going to leave my money in the employer plan. I have access to that sans, that's us French speakers, without paying penalty, a 10% early distribution penalty. The same rule now, because Trumpster is for 50. If you're a federal employee, not even a federal employee, if you're a law enforcement officer, EMT, a first responder, a border patrol agent of some sort. So you can be a sheriff's deputy. And if you leave when you hit 50 or over, the same rule applies. If you have a TSP, if you have a 403B, doesn't matter. So if you leave 50 as a law enforcement officer and you have to look at first responder, essentially is what it is. If you're, and again, you could be the sheriff, the county, the town. You don't have to be federal. It don't have to be. But anyway, long story short, that's pretty sweet. So if you're any kind of law enforcement agent in some regard, or some first responder, excuse me, the rule of 50 is applicable to, which is pretty cool, man. Yeah, right there. My Jeep Wrangler. See, and Jeremy's driving a 2004 Jeep Wrangler. We know he's going to be good to retire. Harry, both his cars are sticks too. Right on, man. Take out your garage door opener too and lock the door from the front. Yeah, that's a great point, Kim. Around $2,500 for $100 face value. Junk means dates not readable, so no coin collecting value. Wow. Yeah, but from a coin collecting, I mean, I think coin collecting is pretty cool actually, but that's not the point. What we're trying to do is we're trying to say, hey, look, man, I want to make sure I got some coinage to trade when the calamities come. Stick, sucks, and stop and go traffic to get one, prevent a theft that never happens. Well, I don't really drive and stop and go traffic anymore, so that's good. All right. Junk means pre-1964 coins. Did not know that. All right. I would love to hear the case for retirement at 50, setting up a 5-year annual Roth conversion ladder. Well, you can't, and you can't do that. So, compared to waiting until I got what you're saying. All right. So John says you'd love to hear the case for retiring at 50, setting up a 5-year Roth annual conversion ladder, as opposed to waiting until age 55 and using Rule of 55. Well, the issue there is the point about using the Rule of 55 is that you can spend the money without paying a penalty. You still got to pay a tax without paying the penalty. So if you're just doing Roth conversions, how are you going to spend the money from 50 to 55, essentially, if that makes sense? Or even until 59 and a half. I don't know why you do Roth. Frank, if you're only going to do it, let's see, Roth conversions, if you're still going to pay penalty and taxes on your gains after you do the conversion. I don't get what the point would be, frankly. So what are we trying to accomplish by doing Roth conversions just to spend that money 5 years later? I still have penalties and taxes to pay because I'm under the age of 59 and a half. Yeah, that seems like a little bit too cute by half, if you ask me. That's why, again, I don't put it into pre-retirement accounts. I'm 50 right now. I mean, I'm building up my post-retirement accounts like crazy because I wish I would not have had an IRA right now. Let's just put it that way. It would have gone a long way to help me financially. But it was water under the bridge. When I started my business, I took $100,000 out of my 401k, which is in my IRA. I had to pay 10% early distribution. That's $10,000, $10,000. And then on top of that was 20% tax bracket, the state in Georgia, state and feds. So it cost me $130,000 to net $100,000, and that was painful. And if I could have avoided all that, that would have been wonderful. That's for damn sure. If I would have paid all those taxes while I had money coming in, making pretty good money in my previous jobs, and from a spreadsheet might not seem like the best way to go, but from reality on the ground, that would have helped me immensely. That's for sure. Smash the like button, yes sir. If you shop local online auctions, you may get silver sets for less than the going silver price. Oh, that's cool. Riot is good for Bitcoin. The conversion ladder lets you remove the contribution without penalty. Yeah, but you still got to live. I think the Fed, oh, God bless, hello, Della. Right on. I got 11 years and 5 months. You can access 401k at a younger age than 50. Yeah, we talk about that. All right. Is Osprey or Grayscale a good way to invest in Bitcoin? Man, I got no idea what those are, so I don't know. David Jones in Alabama at 65. Is it true you'll no longer pay property tax on your house now that you? Ooh, man. Hey, Alabama 65. Is it true you no longer pay property tax on your house once you hit 65? That is what I'm talking about. All right. Right there. Yep. Whose money you living off? That's exactly right, Tom. 100%. All right. China banned Bitcoin 500 times. Now look how well that's gone. Maybe Bitcoin's using to be. Oh, interesting. That's a good point, Eric. Maybe Bitcoin is being used to suppress gold. During this money printing frenzy. That is interesting. Yeah. Because there was no Bitcoin, gold would be taken off. And all those gold bugs are losing out to Bitcoin players now, aren't they? I wonder. Who would be buying up gold because we'll say it's undervalued. So if everyone's buying up Bitcoin as a hedge against inflation, which I literally just makes no sense to me, but let's just say they are, that normally would be reserved for gold. Would a smart trade then be loading up on gold? If you think Bitcoin is going to have to come back to earth at some point, which I absolutely do. Now that's interesting. Good call, Harry. Every now and again, Harry shows up and brings some freaking good stuff here. That's good. So I bet you could look and see some of the globalists, the cabal. I bet they're buying up gold like crazy. I don't know. I'm just literally speculating off the top of my head. But I bet you could see some of these freaking big banks or big, Buffetts of the world buying up gold. I don't know. But I wonder if Elon himself is buying up gold. That's interesting. Cute says, I think Bitcoin's a fad. It's not the mark of the beast either. Yeah, I completely agree. My man Harry's, I'm actually building position SQ because of the cashless push. How much is too much in a traditional IRA, i.e., let's get cracking. Oh, man, let's get cracking. Let's get cracking. Release the Kraken. I'll be banned by saying it. Ben, I tell you, man, just there's no answer to that, my man. How much is too much to avoid the tax bomb? He says $1 million or $2 million. There's no answer to that because we just don't know the circumstance. But I will tell you, when you start getting up to 7 figures, you better start looking. That's for sure. Now, especially if you're married, remember the point about the tax bomb is that you got your income taxes when you're first starting out in retirement are low. All right, so they're down here. And then what happens is as you hit RMDs, they go up. And what happens here is with RMDs that's going to make your Social Security start subject to taxation, potentially put in higher Medicare premiums, which is only going to get worse, higher adjusted gross income for higher income tax, whole thing. Make your qualified dividends, long-term capital gains subject to taxation, many, many, many different things that could come. Now what happens is You die and your wife's taxes are way up here. That's the widow's tax trap right there. Because now you're a single taxpayer, or she is, versus a married filing jointly taxpayer. But be given that you're close to the same age, she will have the same roughly RMD table that you will have. And as such, you're leaving her with that tax bomb because she's going to inherit the same required minimum distributions, but she is only a single taxpayer. And by the way, there's no such thing as a qualified widower. If you don't have, you got to have minors. All right. Just FYI, you can't say my wife she'll file as a qualified widower for 2 years after my death. No, it doesn't work like that. Look up what qualified widower is. It's not Charlotte has survived me, and now she's a qualified widower. I mean, which she would be today because we have kids. But if we're sitting on the freaking front porch, smoking and joking, and I just fell over because of my hyperbole, just finally killed me, she would not be a qualified widower. We'd be married finally jointly for that tax year. And the very next tax year, she's a single taxpayer. Just keep that in mind. Yeah, I saw that Mr. Gates trying to buy the largest private service aircraft. Yeah, these guys. And no one cares other than us. We're the weird guys. Yeah, I agree. The point about a cashless society is to make a social credit system. I'm 100% right. And it's freaking, but it's already here. We already have it. You say anything that's not for polite society, you're canceled, man. It's crazy, crazy. I heard Luke Combs, some country singer. I don't know if you follow Austin Foreman on YouTube. You should. I love Austin Foreman. He's the guy who did Pallets Full of Ballots. Oh, that guy's fantastic. Anyway, apparently Luke Combs is apologizing because he had a rebel flag, a Confederate flag on his guitar in 2015. I got to do better, is what he said. I said, the minute you say you have to do better, I know you're a clown. No one says I got to do better. No one says that. No one says, I've been educated. I'm learning. I will do better. The only people who say that are people who have been so browbeaten by Nashville and their managers that just, no one talks like that. I could do better. I've been educating. I'm on a listening tour. I'll do better. I don't know who Luke Combs is. Don't care. Nashville country can all kiss my big fat behind. But at the end of the day, I heard this is a social credit score. We're already in it, man. Guns N' Roses got rid of one of their songs where they use the N-word from 1989. It's literally, so remember what the communists said. The communists said, we know the future. It's the past that's always changing. All right. We are literally halfway there, man. We know the future. It's the past that's always changing. Because we got to go back and rewrite the stories that we had written before. We got to change the data for NASA when it comes to global warming climate, previous years of climate. We got to get rid of the medieval warm period. We got to, just the whole thing. We got to get rid of the global cooling phenomenon of the 1960s and 1970s. Everyone, this whole thing is freaking, we're changing the past. It's actually quite creepy, frankly. Yeah, 25K property tax in a bad school district, man. Ugh. Yeah, Bill Gates is on TV because he's rich. And all the liberals say, we don't like rich people. Liberals love money. They live for money. They live for money. So that way they get power from money. I mean, that's what it is. Bill Gates, when he's got money, the liberals say, Bill Gates, I thought you didn't like rich people lives. Well, we don't. Well, why are you sweating Bill Gates so much? Because, it's not because he's good looking. It's not because he's nice. It's not because he likes his sweaters. It's because he's got money. That's all there is to it. And liberals love it. And we should not love it. That's not us. We shouldn't be like, oh, you got money. You're my friend. You don't got money. Go to the back of the bus. No, that's not how we are. We're like, dude, all people are the same. Bill Gates with his little sweater and his, what's his wife's name? Melinda Gates. Ugh. Ugh. And she's actually a lot more attractive for Bill. I'm surprised. I mean, she didn't look that bad relative to old Bill, but Bill, man, good night. Yeah, here's my man, gun blazing. He's an expert on vaccines. When's your TV time? When you got that sweet, sweet money, brother? Jeff Jones is enjoying the benefits of socialism. Okay. Yeah, and you'll be the first to go, my friend. You call yourself a Menshevik, and you'll go up against the wall first. Trust me. We'll call Jeff our version of Trotsky. You know what happened to Trotsky, right, Jeff? I think in Illinois, registration is higher for pure EVs. Isn't that interesting, man? Interesting. Most people that live outside of Texas complain about Texas as usual. Yeah. All right. All right. All right. So TRICARE's military. Yep. Right. Democrats have most of the rich people who pay estate tax. Yes, but when we're talking about 2 to 3 million, that's the upper middle class, which is going to be a bulk of Republicans because they're entrepreneur-ish, and not want to say corporate execs, but they've done a good job to. My site's down again. No, hold on, I just got a text. Someone said my site is down. My website. No, I can't. But I'm all about it. I mean, I've said before, I'm all about a wealth tax, and everyone on here gets mad at me. Hold on just a second. Is my website down? No way. Because I know the rich, that's on there. All right, what's this guy talk about? Yeah. All right, so the where the wealth tax and where the estate tax would hit would be the money to lead. But I think forget even all that. I just say no more no more charitable deductions. Get rid of charitable deductions. Our side isn't getting any of them. Very little. It's the rich money elite on the coast that's getting all the charitable deductions. The Bill Gates Foundation, the Bezos, and what's his ex-wife's name, whatever her name was. It's the freaking Buffetts of the world. They're the ones going to get the charitable deductions. You gotta make it these people. You gotta play these people's game, folks. You gotta stick it to where it hurts. That's why you gotta get involved in cancel culture. You can't say I don't want cancel culture. It doesn't matter what you want. It wants you. So you can pretend it's like kind of like the trade war. Trump, we've been in a trade war since freaking time everlasting. Trump's just the first to engage it. You might not want a trade war. You're already in it, baby. So fight back, for heaven's sake. That's what made Trump so appealing to me. It's like, all right, I'm going to recognize where we are and fight back. Of course, the corporate media said Trump is engaging in the trade war. It's just idiotic. So Republicans, conservatives, libertarians, populists need to say, no, all right, we want to play this game. We're going to play this game. Let's cancel you. You start saying crap, we'll cancel you. Now, we'll never get the same media to follow us, but you can pick through people's Twitter feeds if you're on Twitter. I don't know why you would, but I mean, why you'd be on there. But, you can do that. My man Turtle Boy over at Turtle Boy Sports does that. It's fantastic. He's got all kinds of people canceled. Crazy Loons canceled. You're like, dude, I can't believe these people are part of our leadership. And he's from Massachusetts. But he gets people canceled all the time who say crazy stuff. I think it's great. I'm all about it. So you play their games. Okay, Bill Gates and Warren Buffett, you don't mind you're advocating for tax on all of us. Let's get rid of the corporate deductions or the charitable deductions. No one on the middle class America is taking much in charitable deductions. I know there are some people. I do. You know what I'm saying? Because we got 4 kids, we got big fat mortgage interest, and we don't quite tithe, but we give a little bit of money away. All right, let's just say I got 10,000 charitable deductions. I'd trade that 2 seconds flat for making sure Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos and Warren Buffett and Bruce Springsteen and all these clowns, these fakers, pay some tax. I would love it. But Josh, then they're going to come after all of us. Well, we'll cross that bridge later. Remember, it took the AMT many, many years before it affected the middle class. And then when it did affect the middle class, Trump got rid of it for the most part. Not quite, but basically no middle class earner is paying AMT now. Where they were before. I paid AMT 2 years ago, something like that. But it took forever for us to get hit by it. And when it did, we cried out. We said, Trump, save us. And he did. Trumpster saved us. It's not too bad for, okay. All right, so let's go down. Okay, yeah, we talk about bronze, plans, okay, good. Biden right now, he put a lid on it. He puts a lid on it. He's sleeping. Or I didn't push your thing. Biden right now is going night. He chose my applesauce. He had for din. Oh man, SpongeBob. Oh man, I love SpongeBob. All right, there we go. Did you hear about Hillary Clinton's dog getting killed, hit by a car? It's actually sad, but Hillary Clinton was what'd she say about Romney or something like that? I can't remember. But basically, Hillary Clinton saying, she said something like Romney or Trump doesn't take care of dogs. Republicans don't, whatever it was, and her dog just got hit by a car. That sucks, but it's, if a dog's going to get hit by a car, having Hillary Clinton's dog get hit by a car doesn't it's sad for the dog. Actually, he's probably happy for the dog. He's like, thank God. He probably got it. He did it on purpose. I got to get out of here. The cackling witch was going to make me insane. All right, so let's see what else we got down here towards the bottom. All right, Biden. Josh, can you give us your thoughts on private unions? I go back and forth on that. I vacillate. I do think the public unions are not good. That's a fact. I'm even FDR was adamantly against the public unions. I don't think I want to say too much more. I think there's example after example after example of public unions retaining horrific employees. Private unions, I think, can serve a purpose as long as they don't engage in violent activity like they did in right outside Philadelphia. Some construction company wasn't using local union labor, and as such, they just engage in terrorist activity. There's just no way around that. And then the PA attorney general or something like that, the district attorney did not want to prosecute because the union had, and they paid money for these campaigns. And that pisses me off. And I also don't like the idea that you have to join a union. I like an open shop. Well, I don't want to be told what to do. Especially when the union is given to left-wing causes, like freaking the hell's his name? The freaking guy who looks like he just came off the Politburo, Richard Trumka. Why should I pay for him to live large, fly around the world, on his private jets and act like he's a blue-collar guy? And I forget, was he AFL-CIO? I think, I can't remember. But why should I pay for that guy? It's just to live large. The guy's a clown. He's a corporatist. He's a globalist. I mean, and they're contributing to the downfall of America with their stupid left-wing causes. With that said, a private union can help to destroy the cancel culture. It's just a fact, man. It's just a fact. And this is where I wish the unions would freaking straighten up and fly right. Because right now, I hate to say it, but white guys in particular, we got freaking targets on our back, man. There's just no two ways around that. There's none. And as such, if you're working for a corporation and you're a white man and you are walking on freaking eggshells. Any way, a casual look, casual saying, anything could be used against you. We know this. And you have no recourse because there's no one there to back you up. None whatsoever. It's sad. And as such, it'd be nice if there were a union to say you can't just fire somebody just based on someone's accusation. You can't do it. And trust me, I know when I was at USA, I know a guy who lost a job because he was accused of harassment. And I know it. I know it's like it was yesterday. I know who the chick was. I know what happened. And it was all fake. But they're desperately trying to get more women in that line of the business. And her word was bond. There's no other way around that. And having been falsely accused myself in the earlier, not while I was at work, but not in my professional career, but when I was still in college, and having been arrested and having gone to the trial, and the chick who accused me just didn't happen to show up, even though the whole thing was just a scam. It's a scam. But I'm the one who had to suffer. I'm the one who had to go to jail. I'm the one who had to pay the attorney. I'm the one who had to fly back from Arizona to courthouse in Clarendon on Arlington. Clarendon Boulevard, Clarendon Ave in Arlington, to go in front of a judge when the freaking chick who accused me wasn't there. She just said, I'm not showing up. And I said, what the hell is this? I said, where do I get my money back? I just spent freaking 6 months of my life probably $10,000, and I had to spend a night in the freaking little pen there in Arlington County, all because some chick I told her you can't freaking smoke in the non-smoking room, and she says, I'm go to American University Law School. I do what I want. I said, you can't. Just go right there. The non-smoking room's like 10 feet there. Just go over there. And she got in my face. She literally pushed me against the wall. And I just walked away. I said, you guys got to leave. I remember they had about 3 or 4 pitchers still there. I said, you guys got to go. And one guy said, look, man, it's just her. Just let us drink these. I said, that's fine. Go ahead and drink them up, but get out of here. And then she started smoking. I said, look, they're going to get out of here. Hey, long story short. So they finally left, and she was yelling bloody murder. It's the whole thing. It's just a nut. And I said, what the hell's up with this chick? She's probably working for Joe Biden now. Anyway, I said, this is nuts. And about 3 hours later, the friggin' cops come and put braces on me. I was like, what the hell is this? They said, you're getting arrested for assaulting or punching, whatever it was, pushing. It's the exact opposite. Thankfully, there's these two. I was a manager of this brew pub that was big and dark, and it was dank. And way in the corner, because I had, they were in the, and long story short, way in the corner, there's this couple who saw the whole thing. And when they saw me getting walked away in cuffs, they told one of the bartenders, here, have this guy calls me if he needs us to be a witness. I said, thank God. And I didn't have to, ultimately, they came to the court and everything. Ultimately, we didn't have to testify or anything because the chick never showed up and she just went on with her merry life. Crazy. So this is where I'm sympathetic to private unions because this stuff is happening all the time, man, all the time. And if, there's got to be some kind of way to defend yourself other than my word against yours, because you're white, your word is you're on the short end of the stick, man. All there is to it. No other way around that. It's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse. So the best thing, and this is why I encourage people to be entrepreneurial, because most people, all people don't want to deal with this crap. There are very, very few people, that black, white, women, men, that want to be involved in cancel culture. It's just some weird lunatics for some reason that are dominating the culture. I don't know why. Very, very few people want to be involved in this crap. Most people just want to work, get by, and live life with their neighbors and friends and family. That's it. But somehow, about 10%, maybe 15% of the population is lunatics, and they are controlling everything. And as long as the lunatics are in control, you got to take measures to defend yourself. And sadly, in this case, it's private unions. But I don't think I think that ship has sailed. They'll never come back. And as such, there's not much you can do. There's not much you can do other than start your side hustle now, get out of debt, so that way you can be self-employed. Because if you're self-employed, you can do things like this until YouTube cancels you, which will certainly happen. Dog got suicide. Exactly. Oh, I got tons of stories from USA, but I'm going on 2 hours now, Q. So I think I'm going to get ready to call it a night. So Kim, all right. So Kim is trying to move from California. Lots of people are trying to move from California because they can't afford it. Who is paying for this stuff? Who's paying for a teacher with a pension over $100,000 a year, with a cost of living adjustment, with healthcare paid for? Now, I don't blame that teacher. I blame the politicians and the teachers unions. This is why FDR said we cannot have public sector unions, because the politicians will give away the store as long as the teachers unions vote for them en masse. Not just vote, but campaign for them, rabble rouse for them on the taxpayer dime. That is a fact. We know that for a fact. And as such, John Corzine comes to mind in New Jersey. Whatever you guys want, teachers unions, I will do. By the time that bill comes due, I'll be long gone. He should be in jail, of course. He's not, because he's a rich Democrat. He should be in jail. But he said, look, you vote for me, I'll do whatever you want. You got a rubber stamp. Now, the irony of it all is that we're seeing a lot of these unions want, with Mayor Lightfoot in Chicago and other places, where they're having to come to Jesus moment. There's no more money for them, no more money. And the same thing's going to happen in California. There is no money to pay for their incredible demands. So public unions work, yeah, because it's a voting mob of people who say this is what we want, and the politician says, why would I campaign against that? I'm not gonna. I'll get them on my side. That gives me a leg up. Absolutely. But I'm not the one who said I want public unions. I'm just listening to what FDR said. And FDR is never mind his Japanese internment camps, never mind his being adamant against public unions, but the left loves FDR. He's like the darling of the dance. So the problem here is that we have a public sector job that gets paid a hell of a lot more than the private sector equivalent across the board. Federal government, state governments, probably not local governments, but certainly state and federal. And that's simply they can't sustain that. Those days cannot keep going on. Public sector jobs should not pay more than the private sector. And they do by far. It's not close because of what you just said there. Look at that. No cost for medical pay for your whole family. The interesting thing when you say that, it actually kind of pisses me off because all the people I talk to, myself included, how much it costs for us for a family for medical. It's nuts. It's absolutely a two-tiered society of the government workers versus the private sector. It's disgusting, actually. I don't blame the employees so much because look, I mean, they're getting what they can. They got to take care of number one. But at some point, you got to say this ain't right, man. I'm sorry, this isn't right. And it's going to happen. I mean, mathematics is mathematics. Even in California, 2 + 2 will still equal 4. And as such, they're going to run the private sector off, which they're doing in numbers. And as such, you're going to be left with a bunch of public sector unions getting paid certainly more and more and more than what's remaining there. But there won't be a tax base to pay them, and it's all going to fall. And look, it's all going to. This is going back to we'll end up with this. This is my whole thing. Going back to the energy, California it's a freaking fantasy that they're going to get all their energy. I'm not just talking electricity. I'm talking energy from solar and wind. It's just not going to happen, man. And they don't like hydro. They don't like nuclear. It's not going to happen. So that is going to stop. That's going to come to a crashing halt. But more than just brownouts, it's going to be Venezuela part 2. Throw in the insane obligations on the pensions and whatnot. It's nuts. I mean, it cannot exist the way it is. I don't know, 10 years, maybe 20, I don't know, but it can't. But then you go to the state of just our own infrastructure in the United States, where we're going more and more that model, the capital market who's being run more by social justice warriors. And you got to say, how long can we keep going like this? I don't know. I mean, for a while, right? I mean, Rome didn't fall in a day. But I think you have to say it's inevitable that unless something fractures significantly, there's going to be some hard times. I really believe that. I don't know when, but it'll be a whole lot harder if you have lots of debt, if that makes sense, and you don't have any cash on the side, and you don't know how to at least grow some food for gardens and stuff. I mean, it's going to be hard. And I just think at the end of the day, we have enough warning of what is happening across the country to say there's some bad things coming. And I'm not being a scaremonger. I just think, let's be common sense here. We've had a great run for 70 years. Will that be another 70 years like that? I just don't see how. I just don't. We don't have the work ethic. We just don't. We have automations coming down the pike. We have debt as far as the eye can see. That does not mean inflation. It does not mean inflation. But it just means at some point you can't just keep living this way and expecting it just to remain like it was the last 70 years. It's not going to happen. On top of that, this insane energy policy is nuts. It's silly. And as such, thinking ways to get your side hustle to pay off your debt, thinking of ways to start learning how to grow your own food, thinking of ways to get some to at least produce some of your own energy, be it through wood stoves, heating is an energy, be it through, you get a couple solar panels, absolutely, to charge your batteries. I mean, insulating your house better. I mean, all these things are going to be important. You're having sources of water they can tap into. I hope we learn from Texas. There's one thing to laugh at California with rolling blackouts, but what happens in Texas, but it's a once in a lifetime or once in 100-year storm. Okay, well, once in 100 years there, but it might be once in 100 years where you live. We had Snowmageddon here in Atlanta. That's where I started becoming a real prepper right there. I was not prepared, not in the least. It was quite frightening, actually. And I'm from Maine, and I'm naturally inclined to be prepared because in Maine, you got the freaking the winters that come, and winters are always deathly if you're not prepared. You know what I'm saying? And so in Maine, you're always a prepper by nature. And as such, when I was so unprepared in the Snowmageddon and what happened here in Atlanta, I said, I can't let that happen again under the best of my ability. And as such, we started taking, provisions to make sure that that does not happen. Just hell, do you have enough for at least 2 weeks of food? Costco's got a couple deals right now. I just bought some more freeze-dry food. It's $30 off some Mountain House or Arc. I think it's $30 off Arc, 30-day supply for one person. And I think it's like 2,000 calories a day. 60,000 calories, man. It's all freeze-dried, it's shipped. Get one or two of those, every couple months. A couple gold, quarter gold, quarter ounce, 10 ounce gold things every, couple times a year. You know what I'm saying? Start growing some seeds on our grow lights inside. It doesn't take up LED lights. Doesn't take up much electricity. I just think this is going to be important going forward. And as such, it's you'll be prepared to deal with the calamities that are coming. I don't know when they're coming, but California is not going to last. There's no other way around that. And hopefully Gruesome gets recalled, but hopefully they don't replace him with a freaking, a Schwarzenegger. Guy's a clown. Oh, good night. But I think who is the one guy seemed like he might, I forgot who it was. But so what they do is, I think it's a jungle primary, actually. So during the recall, they say it's like 2 votes. They said, do you want to recall Gruesome? Yes. Who do you want to vote for? And I think Gruesome will be on there, but it's like the top 2 vote getters. I can't remember how it works, but I can't remember. Man, it'll be interesting. All right, I'm gonna sign out here. My throat hurts. Yeah, so sue her. You can't sue somebody if they got no money. See, someone said sue her about that chick who accused me. You can't just sue somebody. I mean, you can, but what are you gonna do? I mean, freaking, she's at American University Law School. What am I gonna do? Sue for her? For what exactly? I don't want to go to law school. So anyway, all right, my friends, I'm going to get on out of here. We'll see you guys later. Thanks for being here. Muchas gracias. Yeah, California's red, and that's where Nixon, right? Reagan came from. Nixon, Reagan. The Missouri Immigration Act, Reagan signed. Oh, man. That started the ball rolling, man. All right, we'll see you guys. Thanks again.